Hey guys, you are talking to Ree. I come to talk to you about what I have either read in the blogs, watched on TV, or heard in these streets. We are talking about all of the above. We are talking about Kanye West. Okay, I know I have not come to you guys in a while. I've been super busy, but I am here today because I just could not pass up this story because it's just too much to just, I have too much of an opinion on this. So Kanye West, the former billionaire who once had the net worth of $1.5 billion due to his assets and his liabilities. It does not mean, for those that do not know, that does not mean that 1.5 billion is in his account. That means that due to evaluations of companies, due to contracts, due to evaluation of his music catalog, due to evaluation of what's in his account, all of that comes to $1.5 billion. Okay. So meaning that can change at any moment. It can increase, it can decrease. Okay. And we're going to talk about that shortly. Kanye's 1.5 billion was consistent of his music catalog, his music label of good music, consistent of his contracts with Gap, with Adidas. Adidas was a large portion of that. And so many others. And that is what brought his net worth evaluation up to 1.5 billion. Okay, that does not mean that he has 1.5 right now. That means that, let's say he was to sell everything, like if he wanted to sell his Yeezy ownership, then he can get money that way. If he wanted to sell his music catalog, he can get money that way. If he wanted to sell his Gap ownership of things, he can get money that way. This is all based on evaluation of what we are expecting you to be worth at. Okay, and if he was to sell everything, he probably will have $1.5 billion. That was if he was to sell it while he was at $1.5 billion. Well, let's talk about his partnership. Kanye, within the last few months, has spoken out against his partnerships with Adidas and with Gap. He was not happy with his contracts that he had signed. Now, this is someone that has been an entrepreneur that prides himself and goes around bragging about how much money he has, and that if you don't have his money, don't talk to him. I mean, this is a man who's very famous for, wait till I get my money right, then you can't tell me nothing right. Oh, he definitely meant that. And his ownership of things, he was pretty upset with. So he spoke out against Adidas, spoke out against Gap, and started to speak out against just those at the top. Now, during his Drink Champ interview, he started tirading and focusing in on Jewish community and Jewish people, which also ties me back to, that's probably why his obsession with Drake. Yes, he is obsessed, because you never, if ever, rarely hear Drake mentioning Kanye, but Kanye mentions Drake in every single interview for the last few years. Okay, it is an obsession. He clearly sees Drake as competition, and he even admits to being jealous of Drake on that Drink Champ interview, if you guys have watched the 3 hours incomplete. But what is Drake, guys? Drake is also half Jewish. Okay, and all of this ties into Kanye saying that the people at the top were the Jewish community, and they were the ones that were destroying him. And he then went on anti-Semitic attacks against them, where he spoke on going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish community. Okay, instead of him being angry with the people that he is angry with, leaving, their religion out of it. Okay, instead of him just saying, hey, you know what, Bob, Anheuser or Steinberg or whatever the last name is, I don't like you because my contract I just don't like, and I just looked over and I realized that you guys have the upper hand, and I don't like that. He was mad because he felt that Adidas was stealing his designs and putting it on other products outside of the Yeezys. Okay, he was mad because they were approving off on colors that he did not approve on, because he thought that he had sole control over everything. And clearly that was not how the contract worked. So then, as he looks over the contract, he's realizing, like, wait, they got the upper hand on some of these things, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit. So now he's speaking out against it. Well, Kanye had ample amount of opportunity to retract those statements against the Jewish community. He refused. He kept saying, doubling down, nope, I'm not going to retract it. It's true. And, I stand on it in this, that, and the third, which was very foolish of him, because imagine someone being mad at a person of, let's say, like a black person that has done them wrong, and then say, you know what, the black race, this, that, and the third. You don't attack the whole black race because you're mad at one black person. And that is literally what Kanye did. And then you ignite it by saying DEFCON 3, knowing the history of the Holocaust and the Jewish community. He ignited a war practically against them, to where white supremacy groups came out over the weekend to now speak against the Jewish community based on what Kanye was saying. Okay? He had ample amount of opportunity. He did interviews from Piers Morgan to Lex Fridman to Andrew Cuomo, and he refused for majority of those interviews. I think only in Lex Fridman, where he said, you know what, based on what you're saying, I kind of apologize because I should have focused on the people that I was upset with and not the whole community. But then he goes back out in front of TMZ and says, yeah, no, it's the community, and I was right all along, and this and that. Okay? Kanye's all over the place. Well, everyone, these are businesses and these are corporations, and you cannot ignite hate on anything. So the Jewish community spoke up, and they said, listen, we want Kanye's things pulled down because this is not okay. He has ignited hate. I have lost family members due to what has taken place during Holocaust time. Is disgusting for him to say these things. And, we are asking for those who stand with us and those who are against hate to do something about it. And Kanye continued to go on and continue to ignite hatred in the community. Well, against his better judgment, everyone started dropping him. First, it was Gap that dropped him. It was Def Jam that separated from Good Music. It was Ann Wintour that spoke out and said, listen, I don't want anything to do with you. We all know that Ann Wintour controls the fashion industry, okay? And so the Adidas was still in review over what they were going to do, and people got more upset. But what I wanted people to understand is that Adidas is one of the largest companies, apparel industries in the world. They're the second largest, to be exact. Okay, so that partnership of Kanye that was bringing in a little over $1 billion a year, so to speak, it accounted for 10%, only 10% of their net income, but it was still a large percentage. So that is not something that you can just go and say, hey, we break away right now, especially with a partnership as concrete as theirs, because their partnership was until 2026. So that is something that you have to look over your accounting department to see how would this affect us. As they came forth and said, eventually this would affect us with us losing about $250,000 this year. That is something you have to speak with your lawyers. Is there something in our contract that can get us out of this, that can protect us in the wake of a lawsuit? So that is why it took them time to come up with this, and respectfully so. Kanye thought, even on Drink Checks, when he said, listen, I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas is still going to keep my contract. Let me repeat that. They're not going anywhere. This is what Kanye assumed, right? Which was basically challenging them to do something about it. And Adidas did something about it. And when Adidas released their statement saying, hey, we are breaking away, they also made it very clear that we own the current designs that are already out, and we also own the ones that are already in process to be released. So that means that any new designs that is still in the team's head, that hasn't been jotted down on paper, that is not on the schedule of, hey, this is being released January 2023, or this is being released December 15, 2022. Anything that is not on the schedule, then yeah, we don't own that. But anything that's already there, we own. Okay? And also what's already out. And I felt like them releasing that was basically to say what we're going to do is we're going to pull everything off of the floor line, the store floor line, and we're going to remove the Yeezy name and then put it back out. Right? So while Kanye thought that he had the upper hand, let's be clear, we still own these things. And we're going to remove it and we're going to put it back out underneath a different name. We'll just put it underneath Adidas with the same designs and with the same quality and apparel and shoes. And that is why they released that statement. Okay? So then when you realize that, you realize, Kanye, what was the benefit of this? And then you have people online saying, well, he did this because this is a part of his master plan. What plan was this? I don't think you guys realize how this works. The moment that he lost Adidas, his evaluation, again, I explained to you guys earlier what a net worth evaluation is. His evaluation was cut by more than half. Now it had dropped down to $400,000. Mind you, that was after Adidas backed away because $1 billion of their dollars came from Adidas. But now that they backed away from it, you're back down to $400 million, which is still good money. But keep in mind, though, that Kanye, who went around bragging about, oh, I'm a billionaire, I'm this and I'm that. This is someone that the money is something that he bragged on, that he praised. That's something that he was very arrogant about. So that affects him greatly. And mind you, that's $400 million after Adidas. Keep in mind, he was still losing contracts. Because then we find out that, of course, Foot Locker pulls of everything. Everyone else is backing away. And then, Lord and behold, today, his Donda Academy, the school that he was trying to force Kim to send his children to, the unaccredited school, where God knows what these kids will be learning, was shut down abruptly today in the middle of the school year. Those kids, mind you, they were coming from the unaccredited school. So now these kids will most likely have to repeat a grade. Because you can't transfer to another school midway through. If, let's say, you were an 11th grader, midway through from an unaccredited school, and expect to learn the same thing or for them to give you the same amount of work. Those kids will have to wait till the next school year, or will be back in the 10th grade. But those kids will be repeating a school year. In other words, they would not be advanced up after Donda Academy. But I'm more upset with the parents for even sending them there than I am with the kids or with Kanye West even. I'm more upset with the parents. Because what was your reason behind sending those kids there? So Kanye is slowly losing everything, right? He is on a downward spiral. He takes himself down to Skechers with a camera crew yesterday, trying to speak with the executives, forgetting that Skechers is owned by what? A Jewish family. So they released a statement saying, yeah, we have no plans of working with him now or in the future. That's not going to happen. People believe that Kanye has this plan that he's going to do it all himself. I don't think you guys recognize how business works. Manufacturing, for Kanye to produce the amount of apparel worldwide at that quality requires high manufacturing and distribution of a company. Okay? It requires someone on the level of a Adidas or a Nike or Puma. You know, there's only a few companies that can give Kanye that same level as before. Hence the reason why he ran from Nike to Adidas. But now you've burned both bridges. And Puma, which was also founded by a Jewish family, it was actually founded by the brother of the founder of Adidas. Correct? For those that don't know that history. So they definitely not going to do it. Where is Kanye going to go to? Payless? There was no master play. He didn't think this all the way through. Kanye felt invincible. And he felt invincible because he has been excused many times in the past. All he has to do is say, hey, you know, I didn't take my medication, and people immediately forgive him. But he didn't expect all of this. He didn't expect, like, you can't convince me that he expected for his school to be shut down. You cannot convince me of that. You can't convince me that he expected these things. Kanye is putting on a brave face by trying to act unbothered, but unbothered would not have you walking through Skechers' door, especially with a camera crew, embarrassing himself, being escorted off of the premises. This is a mighty fall. And do I feel bad for Kanye? Absolutely not at all, because Kanye has turned his back on his community over and over and over and over again. Kanye has spent his time seeking for validation from the very people that are now shutting him out. But again, I do not blame them either. I blame Kanye. He spilled hate speech, and I don't care what anyone believes. You don't go and spew hate towards anything. No, he did not prove anything. Them removing their business does not prove anything towards Kanye. Why would they keep him and you're spewing hate? They're removing their business. It's their prerogative. It's their prerogative. And as far as, and I'm seeing things where people are just like, well, they didn't do that when he said these things about George Floyd. But that's because the community did not hold Kanye accountable. See, the difference is that the Jewish community, the LGBTQ community, they all uniformly came together to hold Kanye accountable, or to hold anyone accountable that spews hate in their direction. With the black community, we're too forgiving when it comes to Kanye West. Even George Floyd family, mind you, George Floyd brother, who went and said that they would be looking at suing, then went and said, you know what, we're not suing anymore because we just wanted, like the brother says, we just wanted Kanye to stop talking about our brother. Now that he stopped, we're not going to sue anymore. Do you think the Jewish community would have done that? Or the LGBTQ community would have done that? Or any other community would have done that and said, no, well, you know, now that you stop, we're cool. He's never apologized to his comments on George Floyd. What he said about George Floyd was disgusting to try to rewrite history. And he never apologized. Kanye gave a half apology to the Jewish community, and they still stuck to their gun, as they should have, because he needed to be held accountable. This is a lesson that Kanye needed to learn. And so until everyone else stick together, you cannot expect people to now go and stand up for you. I compare it to a child, a mischievous, rebellious child that has never been disciplined in their home. Mother never disciplined them. Father never disciplined them. Child is just running over madness, running the household madness in their home. Now that child grows up, becomes 18, 19 years old, leaves the home, and starts running madness against other people, against the community, against the streets, everyone. And guess what? He either ends up getting his butt kicked, or he ends up in jail, or he ends up dead. And now the parents are like, well, that's not fair that, you know, my child is, you know, is in this situation. That's not fair that, you know, you guys arrested my child for assaulting an elderly person or assaulting a woman or anyone else, or from stealing or from doing whatever mischievous thing that person has now done. And it's like you are expecting them to turn a blind eye just because you turned a blind eye. No, when they stepped out in that real world, we didn't give birth to him. We don't have to take it easy on him. He acts up out here, he's going to jail. He acts up out here, he's going to get his butt kicked. you know, and that's that. And that's the equivalence of people complaining now is because, well, why is it of this? Well, no, because the Jewish community not going to stand for that. It's not for them to go and speak on your household. If you yourself are not holding the person accountable, you can't expect anyone to stand in front of you. They can only stand beside you. If everyone uniformly stood together, then everyone would then act accordingly. Because there's been other times when things have been canceled based on attacks against the community when we all stand together. But when we don't, which has not been the case for Kanye, you see people making excuses for his slavery was a choice. You see people making excuses even for George Floyd. The comments he said about George Floyd. People are making excuses for it. They're making excuses for it. People are making excuses for it. This man literally went on Piers Morgan's show and spoke about how he identifies more with a straight white man. Went on Lex Fridman's show and spoke on the most dangerous place of a human is in a black woman's womb. And yet you still have the community making excuses for him. I don't care who contributed to that downfall of Kanye. He needed to be humbled. He needed to be humbled. And that's all I have to say in reference to that. It is sad that, yes, the kids have to suffer because of it due to Donda's academy being shut down. But I blame the parents for that before I blame Kanye. Why are you sending them there to that school? To the school of a man that has been unstable for over a decade. And we are not going to keep blaming this on, well, he hasn't been the same since his mother died. His mother's been deceased for 15 years. Majority of us, including myself, have lost a parent. 15 years? 15 years for you to think that you can go and speak and treat people the way that Kanye has? No. Kanye has showed arrogance when his mother was alive. Do your history. So that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to hear what you guys think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts down below. Let's converse about this. Let's talk about all of this. Are you sad that Kanye has taken this mighty fall? Or do you think that Kanye needed to be humble, regardless of who stood at the front of humbling him? Leave your comment below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.